Futures a bit higher this morning, but we've seen some recent market weakness. In fact, the so-called Santa Claus rally, it appears to be faltering right now as we enter a couple days into it. How do you see the markets going into 2025? Do you think this recent weakness, is this a sign of any problems or issues going into 2025, or is it just seasonality?
Well, I don't think there's a lot of issue with the recent weakness, given how strong the global markets have performed. So I think it's just a bit of a hiccup, and we're still positive and constructive on risk assets going into 2025. I think it could be more of the same. I mean, in terms of U.S. exceptionalism, we are more positive on U.S. Equities versus the other regions. I mean, if you look at the confidence survey, the U.S. business survey is just off the charts, whereas those in Europe are really suffering. So I think in terms of the macro, the U.S. is going to perform better, more of the same. And in terms of bond market, I think we're a bit neutral. There's still ongoing pressure on bond yields, and particularly in 2025, we think a lot of the discussion on budget deficit and tax and spending will come increasingly to the fore, which would put ongoing upward pressure on bond yields. So we favor equities versus bond, and in terms of hedges, we continue to like gold.
All right, so you favor equities over bonds. I want to get back to the markets and equities in particular. Since the election, we talked to our data team. This is a great stat we're going to hear a lot of people probably talking about later today. Since the election, the S&P is positive, but the Mag 7 is 95% of those gains. Are you worried at all about market concentration? Is that an issue for you going into next year?
I'm not too worried about that. We, in fact, still prefer quality growth company, which can be found in these Mag 7 companies. I think fundamentally, a lot depends on the earnings growth outlook, and we still very constructive on these mega cap tech earnings. We think the AI theme is still going very strong. There's still a lot of capital commitments from these hyperscalers, and in fact, we think there will be more profit realization from those cloud computing companies from AI in 2025 onwards. So I think overall the AI theme is going to broaden out more from the semiconductors, more towards the hyperscalers and the cloud computing, and of course to the energy producers and things like that. So I think broadly speaking, those mega cap tech stocks are still going to be the best place to be if you want exposure to innovation and AI.
All right, so I know you also like healthcare, but you don't like it on a sector basis. You like individual names, individual parts of that trade. What are the areas in healthcare that you do like right now? We've been talking about it quite a bit here on CNBC. Healthcare certainly a laggard this year. I think it's only up about 2% year to date as a sector.
I think there's certainly opportunity. Healthcare stocks, I think in general, is exposed to a secular theme of aging population, longevity, and I think when we talk about more and more government deficit, the struggle to spend on healthcare, I think the issue will continue to come to the fore. It is an issue that is hugely important and has to be resolved. So I think in terms of some of the European healthcare stocks, including some in the UK, there are a few high quality ones that are very exposed to aging population in areas that would tackle for example, problems of the eyes, the bones, over-the-counter medication, and things like that. I'm not going to provide the individual stock names here, but there are definitely some stock picking opportunities there.